All right, we are in Doodle Summer Camp. This is day number 3. We are on Wednesday, and I've already started sharing my screen because I'm playing with a camera and I'm just learning new things, and so you get to play along with me. So the first day, we played with the Disco Doodle alphabet, and we created different patterns using just a few lines. And then on the second day, we did some kind of a version of neurographic art. This was my other attempt at it, but this one you can notice that I didn't let my thoughts travel off the page. They kind of trapped on my card. And so that probably, I like the idea of letting thoughts travel off out of my mind and back into my mind. Now, this is looking like it's a little skewed. So I'm going to go like this. Look at what my camera can do. See, it can adjust for
Wow.
the angle of the camera. That's so cool. I just love this camera so much. But I'm learning. So let's do this. Today, we are going to work with, we're focusing on lines that matter. And so, and today we're going to focus on words that matter. And so we are going to create a set of doodles that include words. And sometimes words are tricky because you kind of get hung up on making sure that your words are perfect or that the letters look good. But this is all about doodling. And so really, I want you to focus on the idea that it doesn't, what you doodle doesn't have to be perfect. The ideas of slowing down, creating, focusing on something positive, those are the things that are important. So again, I'm using a 4x6 card. Um, I'm turning it sideways here because again, I'm going to start with a frame, just like we did on the first day. I'm going to draw kind of it's not a straight line on any side. It's just a very loose, um, I didn't spotlight, did I? Can you see if it's not spotlighted? Let's see. Oh,
Me
can
too.
I don't know how to spotlight it. Can you see it clearly?
Hmm.
So it doesn't need to be spotlighted?
It looks all right to me.
Okay. As long as you can see what I'm doing, that's what's important.
Should I turn my page 90 degrees so it's more rectangular?
Well, yes, eventually I'm going to turn it. I'm just making it easier for myself to do my little
Got it.
frame here. And I've chosen 4 words. If my words don't resonate with you, you can choose different words. My words that I've chosen are create, process, mindset, and flow. And I chose them kind of so that you would have a variety of letters that we're going to doodle. But if you want to choose different words, it's totally fine. So I'm going to draw, we're going to divide this card in kind of half, and it doesn't have to be perfectly half. And then each of these sections we're going to divide in half again. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly half. So, just be kind of loose with it. It's not important in terms of a mathematical skill. Is there shine or glare on this that makes it hard to see?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see if I can fix that. Is that better?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so my first word, because we are created to create, is create. Now, sometimes when I have a lot of practice writing words, but when I first started out with writing words, I would actually write out the word on a scrap paper. So I would write Create, and then I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, find the middle. So I know that in this space, yeah, I can't make the,
Now it's really hard to see.
yeah, there. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, there. Okay, so I know that CRE has to kind of fit into this part, and then ATE has to fit into the next part. So when you are, let me see if I turn off the light, if that helps. I don't know.
No, part of it disappeared completely.
Yeah,
That's weird.
that's weird. I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I want you to be able to see.
There.
There. Let's try that. Okay. Okay. Um, now I want to adjust for this again. See? So clever.
That works.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to, and it doesn't matter if, so when I move my hand in and out, it changes it. So
Right.
I'm gonna write it, I'll move my hand out of it. So if you think of this divided into six spaces, you think about this divided into three. I'm going to make my C a little bit bigger, and I'm going to go all the way to the lines. And then I will adjust for the other letters because I want this to be kind of a bold C like that. Now I know I've taken quite a bit of real estate for this letter. So I'm going to have to be creative to fit the R and the E into just a little bit of space. So if you want, you can decide. And the joy of doodling letters is um, they don't have to be uniform. This is purely doodling. So I'm going to tuck my R inside this C and I'm going to let it kind of fly out like this because we are being creative. Okay. So there's my R. And then my E is going to go inside of that. So these are going to be kind of nestled together. So that starts like a C. And then I don't have a ton of room, so I'm going to draw my little leg up and around. And I'm not going to I'm not going to go around like you normally do an E. I'm just doing the outline of this E. And so I'm going to draw a straight line here to finish the outline of it. And then I can add the inside little teardrop thingy that makes it look like an E, like that. Okay, so now I have quite a lot of room. So now I have to be creative again. And so I'm going to do a capital A because there's lots of room. So I'm going to draw a giant capital A. I do a straight line at the top because that allows for the triangle to be, um, and again, you would think that we would just take this line straight up and straight down, and you can if you want, because it depends on how you're going to decorate it. I'm going to leave my space open because I'm not sure how I want to decorate it. So I'm only going to go part of the way up and draw the cross line of the A and go straight back down again and then finish it out. And then I can draw my little triangle inside. And now I'm going to do a lowercase t, and that's like an F upside down. So we're going to draw just kind of a backwards J. And I'll finish the backwards J until I get to the cross line of the T. And I'll draw a little box for the cross line, an open box, and then finish up with that T. And then I can finish up, and I have enough room to either do a capital E or another small lowercase e, but I could do a giant lowercase e. So I could start here and go all the way up to the line. So, we can play with the sizes of the letters because these are doodles and we're being playful. We can do whatever we want. And so you use the space that you have. And if there's still space left over, we can, add doodles to it and we can fill up the space. So that's no stress at all. So that's a creative way to do create. Now in hindsight, I see I could have used a little bit more room for my art, but I kind of like it. So it's just a creative way to go. I want to separate one word from the next word. So I'm going to draw another line here, and it doesn't have to perfectly mirror that line. Some of it can be wider apart and some of it can be closer together. Let's see if I can make it so that you can see. There you go. Now, my next word is process, and process is quite long. So if we write process out, Process, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. C is the middle letter. So if you divide this section in half, you can draw an imaginary line. If you want to, you can use a pencil to kind of pencil in an imaginary line, but C is going to go right here. So I'm just going to actually draw a skinny C right in the middle just to get that in its place. I don't worry about using a pen because if I need to double up on letters or make them play together, it's an easy process to do. So, and that is something that I'm not afraid of. And then, if you're worried about the worst thing is starting at the beginning and then having lots of space for a letter and then ending up with not enough space at the end. And so, sometimes you can even do the last letter, like the last letter is an S. So I'm going to draw an S and give it enough space to be. Now, when you draw an S, it kind of looks like you think about a bubble letter. Um, I'm going to do it on the scrap paper so that you can see it. Normally when you have an S, the top and the bottom are quite kind of equal sized. But when you're drawing a bubble letter or a letter that you want to fill in, you've got to account for the fact that there's going to be kind of space that you're going to double up on the lines. And so when you add a line, it's going to look lopsided. So we have to account for that lopsided look. So we make it lopsided to begin with. We start with a big top, or you could start with a big bottom, it doesn't matter. And then the other side is going to be skinny. So we start with it lopsided so that when we add the space, it ends up being even. So, and that, S was one of the hardest letters for me to learn because I just couldn't quite get it. So because it's a doodle and it doesn't actually matter, I don't want you to stress it too much, but I know that when I was learning, it bothered me if I couldn't get it to resemble an S. So start with a oblong, like make either the top or the bottom bigger than the other side so that when you add weight, there's room for it. And so now I've got the last letter, I've got the middle letter. I'm going to add the first letter, which is a P. And so now we can fill in between. So I'm going to draw, there's enough room for me to add an R and an O here. So I don't have to skimp on this space. My letters are sized appropriately. So I can draw an R that is a capital R. It's going to look pretty similar to my P, but instead of going all the way around to where the line might connect, I'm going to stop there because I don't know exactly what I want to do. So I'll add the line here, and then I'm going to draw the little leg for the R. And it's kind of curved in my mind. Yours might be straight, and that's fine. And then I can add the center part that's similar to the one that's for the P. And if it doesn't come out perfectly, I'm going to show you the way that I correct all of this stuff. Because remember yesterday when we went over the lines of our scribble, we could account for any little glitches. So we can do the same with letters. And so now I'm going to add my O. This O is a big fat O compared to the C next to it, but it's okay. No worries. Just to keep with the playfulness of create, I'm going to make a lowercase e, and it's going to be skinny like the C. I'll also need to leave enough room for another S. And remember to start with a wide top and a skinny bottom. Don't we all just want a skinny bottom? And then we go around like this. And if it ends up that you need to jump over a line, like for instance, if I had another S here and it was close to this S, you can definitely just tuck it in so that if my S came close like this, you can start with the big top and the skinny bottom, and then you can go finish it up and just pick up your pen when it hits another line and go behind as if this line is going behind this S, and put it back down where it would pick up, and you can finish it out like that. So it doesn't matter if there's not exactly the right amount of room. There are plenty of ways to play with it. So no stress there. So we have process. And then my next word is mindset. And mindset, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters. And an I is skinny, so it's not even a big, it's not a huge, um, it's not a big letter, so it's not going to take up a lot of room. But if you want to write it out, if we go Mindset, the D is in the middle. So if you want to write a D in the middle, you can. And you could make that uppercase, you can make it lowercase. I'm going to make a lowercase n because that's easier. I'm going to make it kind of skinny because the M is a big letter. And so I know I is also a skinny letter. So if I use a skinny N and a skinny I, again, I'm going to use a lowercase I, and that will leave more room for my M. And so my M is going to start here, and I'm going to draw a lowercase one as well. So it's going to have a bump and a bump and a stem. So I'm just drawing the outline of it right there. And then I'm going to draw little lines down here. And so I'm going to draw 2 arcs. This is a little revisit to our doodle alphabet. Just 2 arcs so that we have our mind. And now all we have to do is add set. And so we have an S, big top. We practicing lots of S's today. Little bottom, add some weight to that. And we can do a small letter E. You could even do a capital E. We haven't done a capital E. Let's do capital E just for the sake of it. So we'll do a straight line down. We'll do, and a capital E is easy to do because it's just straight lines. It's quite symmetrical. No problem. And if you want to do a capital T, you can. If you want to do a lowercase t, you can. We haven't done a capital T, so I'll just follow this line. This is going to be a little bit crookedy, but I'm going to let my base of my T go straight down like that. So we can see, we can just play with the direction. There's no right or wrong here. It's just let the lines kind of fall where they go. Oh, I didn't add a line between these two, but I did leave some space. Remember how we added a line right here? I did not add one here, but I did allow for some room. But I'm going to add a line down here just to remind myself to leave room. And my last word could be slow or flow, but we've done quite a few S's. So I'm going to give you a break with that. And we'll do flow. We can either do and that's a nice easy word because it's just 4 letters. So there's plenty of room. And let's see, let's do a small letter F. And we're going to make these letters kind of chunky because there's lots of room. So I'm going to start kind of out in the middle of, kind of, if I imagine this space divided into 4, I'm going to start there and make a nice kind of chunky letter F, like that. And then I guess I could have done that a little bit differently. I didn't think this all the way through, but it's okay because my L is going to be kind of hidden behind this F. I'm going to make a capital letter L because I like the interest of the line. And I'm going to just let it hide behind my F like that. And then I'm going to do the W first because the O can kind of squeeze in wherever. So I'm going to make a W, and W is basically angles. Remember from our doodle alphabet. So I'm going to do 2 lines that are at a slight angle. See if I can make it. And then we're going to do a flat line, and an angle. And at the top, we're going to draw flat lines like this and a flat line right here. And so now the trick is to figure out how far down we can go to make it equally, if we go too far down here, it's going to be weird widths, which is fine. Sometimes it's kind of playful to make them skinny down here and wide up here. So it's not a problem. We can do whatever. So I'm just going to draw a V here and draw a V here. There's my W, and then my O can just fit right here. And we'll do one in the middle. There is and these are the words that I want to remember while I am doodling. And so now we have a fun kind of a canvas that we can go through and decorate over time. So like I said yesterday, very rarely do I start something like this and finish it in one sitting. Often I start something and then just have a project that's going over time. So you can decorate this in any way you want. You can decide that you want to make patterns on the inside of the letters, or you can decide that you want to decorate the negative space. And just for kicks, I'm going to decorate the negative space this time. And so, and you can sometimes I get kind of like, oh, I don't know what pattern to do. And it doesn't really matter what pattern you do. It doesn't, you don't have to have an endless supply of patterns. The more you doodle, the more patterns you'll develop. It's called visual vocabulary. But really, just drawing repeated lines that follow the lines that are already there. So, I can just go and follow this C and aura the lines that are already there. So just trace around the lines that are there. That's one way to add some to add a pattern. While I'm thinking, I often go over the lines that I've already drawn and just strengthen them. It gives my brain time to slow down, gives me time to think. And often the process of doing that gives me an idea for another thing that I want, or another pattern that I can use. So, and it doesn't, many times it's not even that original. Sometimes I just continue with the same aura process where I'm just doing the same thing over and over. So I might just um, repeat, so I'm just outlining the same letters the same shapes that are on the outside of each of these letters. Often I have, maybe a word of the month. Sometimes I do a word of the year. Some of you might have seen a word of the year advertised, and then I'll either write it down or sometimes we create a doodle, an image that represents the word of the year or the idea of the year. And it's fun to be able to just have that icon or idea to be able to sketch or doodle in a place. And some people doodle their word over and over. Some people doodle their icon over and over. And sometimes they do both, like the word and their icon. And it's a great way to reflect on what you are wanting to be intentional about. So another way that you could use this is to have, if you have a classroom theme for the year or for the semester, you could have, you could create a coloring page or a doodle page where your classroom theme is outlined and your students could decorate it or color it or doodle it in whatever way they wanted to. I have a coloring book on Amazon called Prime Your Mind. And it's a whole book that is just individual words of positive words that people can kind of dwell on and think about while they either color or doodle. And it's a very relaxing, meditative process. And a lot of people color them and a lot of people doodle them. I'm actually in the process of going through and using only lines of as color. So this process that I'm doing right here is called lines as color. Every pattern is its own color. And it's kind of fun for um, me to see how the page, when I look at it, it's just like, oh, it's just more stuff to color. People look at it and go, oh, I could color that. But I'm like, it's already colored. I've already added lines, and then the change from just the coloring book blank to where I've already colored it and using lines. It's fun. I will post those on my Instagram account pretty soon because I have several that are done. I travel with it, so when I'm sitting at an airport or something, I'll take it out and doodle a few pages. So that's one way of decorating a word with the just following the lines of a word. Sometimes you don't even have to go around corners. Sometimes you can just choose a direction. And for instance, I'll just draw a line through this whole process. I'm going to stop wherever the word is, like, I'm going to go behind the letters. So I'm not going to draw over top of the letters. And I'm just going to repeat that line wherever there's a space between letters. And if you want to, you can start kind of flaring out the line so that it starts kind of going out at an angle. Sometimes I think about what the word means, and then I try to imagine what would a line look like that is describing that thing. So process, might start small and then it's it's getting bigger. Like the process is something that is changing. Like I am, oops, can you see? But if you want to do a wavy line, you could do a wavy line. If you want to do a different pattern between each letter, the patterns that we did on Monday, you could do a pattern between each one. So these little spaces between the letters are all opportunities to decorate and think and experience creativity. And it's just like a blank page, a blank slate. And it's so much fun to see how different people process their creativity differently. And everyone can do the same exercise and come up with something that's completely different. And I love seeing different people's interpretations of the process. It's just beautiful. And if I was going to tell you, if you have letters that you don't love, when I was going over top of these letters, and here I've gone over, these lines kind of bled over my R, and I don't love that. So you can go through and double up on these lines. And if your one line of your R is thicker, and the other line is skinnier, when you're going over your letters, you can kind of go on the outside of one letter and the inside of another letter, and you can even it out pretty significantly. So, when I first started doodling, one of my roommates who lives in Australia now, she said, "How do you make your letters so even?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? My letters are so far from even." But I realized that she didn't see the process that I go through to, to go over the letters and make them appear even. And it's just the joy of doodling. It's just you get to, and I'm not tied to the outcome. So if it looks a little bit more even, cool. If it doesn't, you are your worst critic. You are the one that looks at it and goes, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible," and it's not important. It's just like enjoy the process, enjoy the creativity, let go of the expectations. Expectation kills joy. And the whole point of this is just to enjoy, relax, slow down. And if think about, imagine the progress that I'm making, the process that I'm going through to let my brain slow down. It's so valuable. I'm giving myself time to relax. I'm not holding myself to the standard of I'm going to sell a piece of art. There's so many times when we have to get things right. This is one time where I can just do it for the sake of doing it. And I enjoy the process. And it makes me happy. And I'm learning new things. And I'm going to share the process with my students and with the people I work with because they also deserve the self-care and the process of creating. And they can also enjoy not having to be right or do something exactly the way that I do it. There's no right and there's no wrong. If you're doodling and you're enjoying the process and you're letting go of anxiety and you're breathing through it, that's the important part. And every time I do it, I feel more confident and my creativity is increasing and my brain is developing because every time I write a new line, I'm solving a problem. And it's not that big of a problem, but it's still exercising my brain so that I can solve problems. And this problem is a fun one. And other problems can also be fun because I'm learning how to solve them in creative ways. And I can see things from a different perspective when I doodle. And it's teaching me to see things from a different perspective when the problems have bigger consequences. And I love to doodle and I love to find ways to solve problems. And creativity is a great way to solve problems. And you can decide if you want to do the same thing at the top, or if you want to leave it blank, or if you want to go in a different direction. This camera really goes in and out. I need to figure out how to stabilize the focus. Mindset is I'm going to go at an angle. I've done kind of lines that follow along at on the curves. Now I've done lines that kind of go out from a point. Now I'm going to do lines that go at an angle. And you can mix it up. If you want to do a pattern that I'm doing on top of the letters, totally you can do that. If you want to do them with color, totally you could do that. I typically don't carry colors with me, so my designs are often just a single color because that's easy. And I'm all about like, if I have a pen and something to write with and something to write on, I'm all set. So I don't want to be encumbered with, well, I don't have all of the tools that I need to be able to doodle. If I have a napkin and a pen, I've even asked a waitress before if I can borrow their pen while I'm sitting at a restaurant, and they're like, sure. Doesn't have to be any specific pen. So I'm going to go through, and actually on this one, I'm going to turn my card and I'm going to go in the opposite direction as well. So I'm going to make a little, it's almost like a hash mark checkerboard kind of a situation. And you can choose to do that or you can choose not to do that. These are all just straight lines from our doodle alphabet. And I know that we are getting ready to run out of our 45-minute block. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing on Flow as well, so that if you choose to, you can do that, or you can just do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong here. On the next section, I'm going to draw bubbles. When you're in flow, often the flow creates bubbles, and the bubbles are fun. So create these circles that go from one line to another line, just as big as you can make them without crossing over into another line. And then when you've gone through one section, go through again and just let these little bubbles go from one line to another line in random areas. And when you've gone through and filled in those areas, let me see here. I'm going to turn my card upside down. Let me see if I can show you. There. Where? There. Oh, do you know what I can do? I can turn it upside down and do this. Oh, wait. Nope. There. Maybe it's because I messed with the angle that it struggles. That's something I need to look up. Okay. And then, oh, my hands are at a different angle now. That's interesting. So as I go through, I'm just adding bubbles. And so now I'm going to continue adding bubbles, always touching lines, but not going over them, and filling every little space with lines. So even the tiniest of spaces are going to be filled with bubbles, because these are like soap bubbles that jostle for a position. And there's always room for all of them. They kind of have a way of getting enough space for themselves and leaving enough space for their neighbor. Wouldn't it be nice if the whole world operated that way?
Mm.
I don't know. It's not, my camera's making it a little bit hard. I want you to be able to see. Let me see. Oh, find me there. Find me there. Okay, so now you can see where the little tiny bubbles are. So we will be back for one more day of doodling tomorrow at the same time. Those of you who are watching on the replay, I'm so glad that you are playing along. I know that lives are busy, and I picked a time in the middle of the day because I thought that teachers were on summer break and footloose and fancy free, but I know you have lives outside of school. So, but I am interested to know if there was a better time for you to meet live. I would love to know what it would be, just for future reference. I'm not changing it now. I just want to know what, what would serve you the best. If you enjoy the process of doodling and being in a community of teachers who enjoy positive mindset and coming up with ways to use doodling and positive mindset in your classroom, both for yourself and for your colleagues and for your students. And you'd love to be in a community of fellow teachers who do the same. I have a membership called Time Out for Teachers, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, not in great detail tomorrow, but I will be sending you some information about it. This summer camp is all about relaxing and having fun, but I do want you to be aware that there is a community that exists, and it's for people just like you who enjoy being creative and giving yourself the self-care that you deserve. And so I would be very, very remiss in not letting you know. So I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, and I will share my finished mindset process one with you when I post the replay. I'm glad you guys are watching the replay. I think that's great, and I will see you all then next time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Whenever. Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.